Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 53 of Photo Critiques. And in Photo Critiques, people send me in some of their best images, and I critique each shot with suggestions on how they could improve it. And today, I'm pleased to critique the work of Linkham Vijayan. Hopefully I didn't destroy your name too much, Linkham. He sent me in some really nice shots. Let's get started. The first few are some portraits, and beautiful little girl here. Very nice shot, and I like what Linkham did here. He didn't put her right in the middle. He has her to the side, and she's looking into the larger part of the frame. You always want to try to do that when you have a person or an animal in the picture and they're looking to the side. Have them looking towards the larger part of the frame. In this shot too, we have some varying degrees of brightness. And it worked out well the way it is here. She's looking into the brighter part. That's not necessarily something you have to do all the time, but it's something when you're composing in the viewfinder to make sure that it looks okay when you're doing it, and it looks very nice. The only two small things I could talk about here is this chair back here. It just is ruining the shot in my mind. The colors, it just doesn't match. It doesn't add anything to the picture. It takes away. So if you this was an informal photograph, and you could recompose and ask her to move a little bit to the right, and you could retake the shot. That's what I would have suggested you try to do to eliminate this. The other thing is, I mentioned in every critique that has a person or an animal in it that has eyes, is you always want to focus on the eyes. That's the most important thing. And in this case, you could see that the eyes are a little blurry, and you really have to be diligent about focusing on the eyes. Now, as I looked, I tried to see where the focus was pulled, and it looks like right in here is in very good focus, right here, in perfect focus. So that's called back focusing, where it focused behind or beyond where you were aiming. Now, that might have been the photographer, or it could be an equipment thing. Some camera lens combinations don't focus perfectly. They'll either back focus or they'll front focus, and you could usually test it and adjust for it. There's most DSLRs will have a function in the menu where you could adjust for that specific lens the focus, so it focuses perfectly. So I'd suggest you check that out. Excuse me, and make sure that it isn't your camera lens combination. And if that checks out okay, then just be more diligent on the focus, and make sure that you're focusing really carefully on the eyes of the subject. This one here is a pretty interesting shot. The background's pretty cool. I like it. I like the the way it's blurred out. She's got a beautiful expression on her face. The focus here is better. It's a tiny bit soft, but the whole picture's a little bit soft. I think that's just because it's an ISO 400 shot, and it was sent an email, so it's not the a highly resolute JPEG that I received. One thing, when you got this blur in the foreground, that you could use that to your advantage, but it's kind of a hit and miss thing. And why I say that is you really don't always see how, when you're looking through the viewfinder, you really don't always see what it's actually going to be in the final shot. So you have no way of knowing unless you take the shot. And sometimes the blur will add to the photograph, like it enhances the photograph. And I think it does here, because the blur here takes our eyes off this face back here. Now, if this blur wasn't there, we'd see, like, it would look like she has a second face growing out of the side of her head. So this blur worked very well in that instance. It just takes our attention away from that. We don't really notice him right away. So it came out nice. This shot is excellent. Very nice shot. I love the pose, the smile, the background. Very well done. Very wide open aperture f/2.2 to give this blur effect, and the foreground in blur adds very nice. It helps draw our eyes back up to where it should be on the subject, and the focus is pretty good. It's a tiny bit soft, but again, it seems to be soft everywhere, so that's probably more just a result of you know, a non-resolute JPEG sent through email. You know, so if Linkham created a JPEG that he didn't have to, you know, a larger one, it would be a lot sharper. But I really do like this shot. This shot here, it's you know, I guess an action shot, you know, for a pose, and it's very well focused. You know, her shirt is more in focus than her eyes, but in this case she's not, you can barely see the eyes, so I think it's okay in that regard. The only like quibble, is that a word? The quibble I have with it is her hand. What is she reaching for up here? You know, we want to know. This is, her body is kind of like a leading line. And by the way, she is jumping very high, higher than I've ever jumped in my entire life. And anyways, it's a leading line. You know, we're leading, seeing what she's jumping to, and we don't see her hand. We don't see what she's jumping up to touch. What's up there? I mean, is it a watermelon, or is it a grape, or is it an apple? I mean, of course I'm being ridiculous, but you get what I'm saying. Is I would have liked to see this recomposed so you could actually see her fingertips and whatever she is trying to touch. This is a really nice shot. The focus is very strong. You could see the individual eyelashes here. Very well done. The spoiler on this shot is this man's face right here, just creeping into the frame. So in this case, you want to crop in tighter. You could crop this original shot. I'm not going to actually do it now, but I mean you could, you know what a crop is. So you guys, so you crop the original shot, get tight in on her face, cut off his head so it's not in the frame anymore, and get rid of the phantom hand coming here and here. So that's what I would suggest on this shot. Now here, this is a very interesting shot. You have a young lady, you know, with her meal. This foreground blur again, very well done. It helps draw your eye into the subject, and the blur over here, so it's kind of a framed blur is what I would call that, and it's very well done. And like I mentioned, that's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it doesn't work, and it works really nice in this shot, and the color is very good. You got splashes of different colors all over the place. It's a very nice shot. This I don't know, you know, we call these floral clocks, but there's no flowers in it. So I guess that's maybe a grass clock. It's a very cool shot. It's a little bit, I would call it over-processed, and not because it's saturated colors. I don't mind. A lot of people don't like when someone oversaturates colors or makes it look like it's too, they don't like HDR basically, so they don't like that look, even if it's not an HDR shot. But what this like white like glow around the trees, that's just indicative of a shot that's just over processed, over sharpened, and it's not very flattering to the shot. So try to avoid processing it to the point where you get this white halo around, especially trees. This shot here, the focus is pretty good. It's in very good focus. The eyes are dark. You might want to come in there with a brush and brighten up the eyes a little bit. But that actually isn't the biggest problem with the photograph. Just let me show you what I mean here. I'm going to turn feathering up too. Bear with me. The biggest thing with the shot that I see is it's just too busy. Is that all this back here, even though it's blurry, it's just way too busy. And I can't bring the eyes up enough because it's a JPEG. But I think in a raw file, you could work on the eyes a little bit more and get the eyes more noticeable, so we as the viewer have something to focus on, and we actually always look for the eyes. But in general, though, the shot doesn't work too well. It's a little too busy. We have a lot of different texture going out in the background here. We have this plant coming up in front of the animal, so it's just not very attractive. This is a beautiful shot. Very nicely done. The colors are beautiful. It's a near silhouette, so I like the way he did that. So you can see a little detail in this tree here, but everything else is silhouetted. Very well done. We have a lens flare right here, and you know, some people hate them, some people don't mind them. Personally, when I do it, I don't like them usually. And the way I do it, I mentioned this in a previous critique, you have to have Photoshop or something that will work with layers. The way I do it is I take 2 shots. I take one shot just like this, normal, and then I immediately will take another shot, but I put my finger right in front of the lens and I cover up the sun. So when you're done, you have 2 separate shots, one just like this, and then you have one with my big fat finger right in the middle there. And then what I do is I open them as layers in Photoshop, and I put the one with my finger on top, and I put a white mask on it, and then I paint in black on the mask right where my finger is. So I mask out my finger. So this sun from the bottom layer comes through, but everything else is from the top layer, which won't include any lens flare. So that's the way I do it. Something, you know, to consider if you guys have Photoshop or any photo manipulation program that uses layers. And this is a pretty cool shot. Selective color I've done on my Lightroom tutorials. I did a tutorial on how you could do selective color, and this is an excellent subject to do it. I like the processing. A lot of people would argue it's over processed. I like it. I think it adds to the shot. I don't mind over processing at all if it adds to the shot, and I think it really does. It's really a graphic, almost like a graphic drawing, you know, with this you know, trash bin, you know, just the colors just jumps out at you, and I really like the job Linkham did on it, and he did a really nice job. And that's it on this one. I'd like to thank Linkham for sending me in his images for me to critique. Some very nice work. The suggestions only I could make is make sure you focus on the eyes, and look from the edges of the frame. Make sure there isn't like an ugly chair in there. And I don't mean to call your chair ugly if that's your chair, but you know, the chair in that instance didn't add to the picture. So you don't want to have a chair in the frame that doesn't add anything to the picture. And in that case, the color clashed. That's why I didn't like it. So things like that, you know, just simple things, and be careful always about that over processing when you start to get those halos that glow. It's almost, you could see a little glow in this shot here, but it's almost not noticeable because it's way at the edge of the frame. So again, thank you, Linkham. Thank you for everyone who watches all my videos. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for subscribing to my videos on YouTube. And if you haven't done that already, I'd appreciate it if you did. And that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.